One summer moment can change a child's life. Through Toys for Tots Give and Go initiative, your support provides books, games, toys, and outdoor adventures that spark curiosity, creativity, and a love of nature. Whether it's fishing, learning a new sport, reading under a tree, or playing with friends, these moments build confidence and lifelong memories. For too many children, those moments never come. You can help change that this summer. Visit toysfortots.org. Toys for Tots, delivering hope beyond the holidays.
Feisty, fearless, and fair. She's an Emmy-winning journalist from the White House to war zones, telling all sides of the story. This is the Rita Cosby Show.
And I am Jake Novak in once again for the great Rita Cosby, who is, and this is a hard phrase to say, I can't believe I'm saying this, who's taking some time off. Anyone who knows Rita Cosby, whether you work here at WABC or some of the other places she appears, knows she is an extremely hard worker. She is always preparing for her show. She's really a great example for young people who might want to get into this business. So I'm trying to imagine Rita Cosby taking a break. And I've had a couple of days, and I still can't picture it. I hope that you are, though, Rita. Again, I'm Jake Novak filling in, and just give you an idea what's going on right now. Again, this is live programming. I'm here live here just after 10 p.m. Eastern time here in New York on the eve of America's 250th birthday. Really exciting time. Even if all the celebrations aren't living up to my memories of the 1976 bicentennial, that was my childhood, and I really enjoyed that year, and that spirit lasted well past 1976 for me. But that doesn't matter. It's just the concept of what's going on here and what America has achieved and how it still compares to other nations in the world is very exciting to me. We are awaiting President Trump's historic speech at Mount Rushmore. Probably within the hour he'll begin speaking, and I'll keep an update for you on that. Some of the advance notice on what he's going to talk about is apparently he's going to really be very current with the subject matter. He's really going to focus on this rise of communism in the Democratic Party and in some corners of this country and take some serious aim at it. And I think it's appropriate to do so. I'm sure he'll be slammed by the usual critics for perhaps being, they'll call this a divisive speech, but America needs defending. And if you call that a divisive speech, then what do you call John F. Kennedy's inaugural? Give yourself, do yourself a favor one of these days, and probably should be over this weekend, being that it is July 4th weekend. Go ahead and read, better yet, maybe even listen to John F. Kennedy's inaugural address in January of 1961. It's a firebrand, man, against communism, against the Soviet Union. It's not a kumbaya. I can promise you that. And it's important to understand that this was somebody who was a huge opponent of communism, John F. Kennedy. And if I'm one of Trump's speechwriters or Trump himself, I would tell my guys and gals, get me some Kennedy quotes. And President Trump wouldn't be the first Republican president to do that. Ronald Reagan did that too. Ronald Reagan, when he was preparing his big tax cut bill and policies in 1981, told his staff, get me the Kennedy comments when he pushed for the tax cut of 1963 throughout the year of 1962. He had to spend a lot of time in 62 pushing for those tax cuts. And they did. So I'm just going to, one of the things I like to do is, because I was an executive producer in mostly mainstream news for 32 years, I know exactly what they're going to do. I know how they're going to do it. And I'm telling you, they're going to have a big headlines tomorrow about how Trump had this divisive speech. They'll also knock him for giving the speech too late, because if you are a geographically centric D.C. or New York journalist, doing a speech at 10 p.m. Eastern time is too late for you. Because, a huge part of the country isn't on your Eastern time, guys and gals. But you wouldn't know that because you are incredibly geographically biased and in a bubble. So those are the two main narrative. I'm telling you right now. Don't go out and buy your newspaper tomorrow, because I'm going to tell you what they're going to already say, or ever watch CNN or MS Now or the broadcast networks, because that's all they're going to say. They're going to say that Trump gave a divisive speech because he takes aim at communism at a time when our American ideals are under fire. And they're also going to make fun of him for giving a speech too late for Eastern time, because they're the only ones who matter. New York and D.C. is the only time zone that matters to these people. So I'm just giving you a little preamble. It's only fair. It's only fair to save you the time when I can. But we already had a speech today that was really, truly infuriating, although not surprising, from Zoran Mamdani, the mayor of New York City. And I'm going to play you the sound for it, and you can judge for yourself, but I am going to give you, just like I just did here, letting you know what the mainstream media is going to do, I'm going to give you a quick Cliff Notes right now of this very young man's speech. He's 34 years old. How a 34-year-old can be a mayor of New York City is already the problem. Someone who never really had a real job, yet another problem. And someone who's so inherently mixed up about what America is all about. He doesn't understand America. And more importantly, he doesn't want to understand America. I was on this morning with John Katzmatidis. We were filling in for Sid Rosenberg on Sid and Friends in the Morning. And I told a story about a non-American that I think that Zoran Mamdani ought to learn a little bit more about. And that would be Gandhi, Mohandas Gandhi, the Mahatma. And Gandhi, I assume, is someone that Zoran Mamdani at least says he admires. He may not admire him because he wasn't a Muslim. And he was assassinated by a Muslim. But to his great credit, Gandhi, who was born in India but spent a lot of his adult life in South Africa, fighting for civil rights for people in South Africa, successfully, really, in many ways, comes back to India while he's still, he's not even middle-aged yet. And of course, they immediately want Gandhi to be the leader of the civil rights movement, the independence movement in India. And what does he do? Does he say, yeah, I'm taking over? No. He insists that he needs a few years to travel the country and to reacquaint himself with the country and to really understand the country again. Because he didn't. And we have people like Zoran Mamdani, who's been a citizen for all of 7 years. I know he did his schooling here, for the most part, here in the United States. But he has never really lived outside of the Northeast. Yeah, he's visited L.A. He has not really been to America, frankly. He hasn't. And he's too young to be the mayor of the city, no matter what his background is. So for him to give a speech like he did this morning, truly mostly bashing this country, and again, the Cliff Notes are basically this. America is only good because it's allowing people like me and other immigrants to fix it. You'll hear it in some of the sound bites I'm going to play. And for any of you listening who thinks, oh, Jake doesn't want to hear anything bad about the United States, he's just a crazy patriot, no criticism, you couldn't be more wrong. Here's the thing, though. This is America's birthday. This is our celebration weekend. This is not the time to list your grievances, no matter how legitimate they might be. This is not the time. Oh, but Jake, when is the time? You never want to do it. That's not true. There's plenty of times I think you could do it. Plenty of times. Actually, I'm going to give you a date where I think would be a good day for everybody in America to talk about the things that not only currently or historically we've done wrong. March 6th. March 6th would be a great day for the great American self-flagellation mea culpa day. And why do I choose that date? Because March 6, 1857 was the day that the Supreme Court handed down the Dred Scott decision, which was really, you could possibly say, was the low point of the moral history of this country. It was also the low point of the court. The opinion itself was a piece of garbage. Even if it had been morally correct, it was written like a piece of junk. So there's plenty of appropriate times to criticize bad American policy, bad American behavior. Of course, the most appropriate time is when it's actually going on and when you're accurate in what you're criticizing, none of which Zoran Mamdani did today. But I'll give you the date. Let's have it. March 6th. Every March 6th, noting that that was the date in 1857 when we had the most morally reprehensible decision in the history of our courts, really, and by extension, our government in general, basically saying that any African American, basically, even if they weren't a slave at first, basically could never be given full human rights ever, no matter what state they were in, whether they were freed or not. I mean, it's an incredible piece of hateful, non-freedom, really anti-American garbage. And that would be a good day, March 6th. So here, I hereby proclaim March 6th to be the Day of Atonement, American Atonement. But that isn't this weekend. Deciding on a birthday celebration, this incredible number, this round number of 250 to be the weekend where you're going to mention all this nasty stuff is, I wonder what kind of a parent Zoran Mamdani is going to be if he ever does have kids. Let me give you a tip. On your child's 5th birthday or any of his birthday parties, that's not the time in front of the family and the friends to say, well, Zoran Jr., we love him, but he was really late with the toilet training. He doesn't clean his room. No, I mean, that's not appropriate. It's like giving your wedding vows at your wedding saying like, well, you've put on a lot of weight since we started dating and you smell, but I'm still marrying you. I mean, that's just not the time. It's not the time or the place. And leadership and scholarship has a lot to do with timing. When's the right time? There are a lot of people in our lives, and I'm sure you have in your life too, a lot of people in my life over the course of my life, some of them very close to me, who are incredibly brilliant, who have no sense of timing, who want to be right all the time, and to the detriment of being a decent person and being a good enough person. But in this case, Zoran Mamdani isn't even right. Again, on the eve of America's 250th birthday, this is how he decides to show his misunderstanding. One of the great things about ignorance is most people can't hide it. This isn't just hateful. The man's an ignoramus, as most 34-year-olds who have never had a job are about a lot of things. Here he is.
The powerful have always known their answer. America, in their view, is an arena of supremacy, where only a select few are allowed freedom, where not all are created equal. America, if you ask them, becomes less the more people it welcomes. America, they will tell you, belongs only to those with the right accent or the right shade of skin. The rest of us, they insist, should be grateful for merely being allowed to visit.
Who the hell is he talking about? Who the hell is he talking about? The still incredibly fringe Klan people? I mean, and let's say these are 10% of the country, which I don't even think it's even 2% of the country. This is the time he wants to say it before the 250th birthday. What he doesn't understand, and more importantly, I don't think he wants to acknowledge, is this sad reality. America's got a lot of problems. America's had a lot of failures. America's done a lot of things wrong. But we live in a world that is necessarily comparative. You want to go to a better place, not the perfect place. If you're smart enough, you know there is no such thing. And there's no other nation over this many years that has had a better record for its people. That includes African Americans. There's still slavery in a lot of countries. Do you know that there are more people enslaved now than there were before the Emancipation Proclamation? There are more people enslaved in the world now than there were in 1863. None of them are enslaved here in this country, at least not legally. Do we deserve a pat on the back for that? Not really, but we don't deserve to be denigrated for it. Every minute that you're spending rehashing a more than 150-year-old past about American slavery, you're wasting your time and ignoring the real slavery that's going on right now. I have a close friend of mine I went to college with who blew up an open slave market in Baghdad. So I know what I'm talking about here. Here's another one of his great pearls.
We are told that America is exceptional because we are richer, stronger, more powerful than everyone else. The truth, my friends, is that America is exceptional because here, nothing is fixed into place. The frontier may be closed, we may have walked on the moon, but the work of fulfilling the values first enshrined in the Declaration of Independence, that work endures.
You see, it's only good because we can fix it. People like me who know better because I'm a 34-year-old trust fund baby with a radical father who's an anti-Semite, a mother who made a lot of money in Hollywood, and I went to private schools all the time. And oh, by the way, I never had a real job. This isn't how it goes. That's not how it works. The guy hasn't paid his dues for many jobs, least of which being the mayor of the greatest city in the world. It's as simple as that. He doesn't get it, and it's inappropriate for him to have spoken like this today. And I feel really bad for these new citizens.
This is the Rita Cosby Show.
Yeah, Born in the USA by Bruce Springsteen. Obviously a great hit, but also filled with complaints. Listen to the lyrics. Not a happy person in that song. I want to get this over with, not because I think it's a terrible thing, but just so you know, yes, Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce got married at Madison Square Garden today. Good for them. Adam Sandler was the officiant. He was the person who married them. I don't know if that leads to great confidence over how long that marriage is going to last, but and kudos to them for giving I don't know exactly who they gave the charity to, but apparently the couple gave $26 million to charity in honor of their wedding, which is very nice. All right, I'm going to be back with your calls. I'm Jake Novak in for Rita Cosby as we are on the eve of America's 250th birthday. So much to talk about with you. Thanks for joining us.
This is the Rita Cosby Show. Presents Back the Blue.
And I'm in Jake Novak in for Rita Cosby this evening. And I know the Back the Blue segment usually talks about a specific officer, a specific incident. But let's use this opportunity in our Back the Blue segment to remind everyone how hard the NYPD is working this weekend, especially tomorrow. There are going to be a lot of cops on the streets, especially tomorrow in this incredible heat, especially on the waterfronts. This is a full mobilization day coming up for the NYPD, and our gratitude goes out to all those guys and gals who are out there. Yeah, today they were out there today. They're going to be out there tomorrow. Not easy job, and they don't really get the day off. Neither do I, but hey, most of you get the day off, and we really appreciate that. So that is our Back the Blue segment for this evening. Let's get to the callers. 800-848-9222. Want to start with Joe in New Jersey. He wants to talk about the Mamdani speech. Joe.
Yeah, Jake, I watched that arrogant little ant giving that speech. And it reminds me so much of that Yuri Bezmenov the video that was out in the 70s. It's exactly what he says in that. What Yuri Bezmenov talks about. You keep telling everybody, you brainwash them with everything but the truth. And when you tell somebody the truth, eventually they begin not to believe the truth. And I see it happening now. And unfortunately, it seems like the first two generations that they worked on, I mean, it's gone to two generations now. And we got one more generation, we've lost this country.
Yeah, Joe, I'm glad you made that comparison because so much of his speech sounded just like KGB propaganda against the United States. When the Soviet Union started to collapse, and it was a slow collapse. It really started in the late 70s, through the 80s, into that early 90s period. They started to push this narrative like, well, the United States is starting to become technologically really superior to us, especially with the Star Wars program and things like that. But there are homeless people on the streets of America, and they had their kids brainwashed saying that. This is KGB propaganda kind of stuff. America is a racist country. America is a mean country. You know what you get Europeans of all sizes and shapes who come to this country, not just people of color. And they almost all say the same thing, saying like, wow, this is a much nicer country than I thought. I even went to the South. I thought it was still Jim Crow in the South. I couldn't believe, they're all given these incredibly false narratives about America, and a lot of it is KGB, communist, old Soviet type propaganda, which is now resurfaced, and it's bled into. It's a good point you made, Joe, about about our education system, because this is what's it bled into our education system, and it's very, very frustrating to me. It's very, very frustrating to me. Stan in Forest Hills, what do you got to say, Stan?
I have to take great exception with your initial comments that we should not comment on this, something bad or something negative on the 250th birthday. This is
Why?
Exactly the time
Why?
to speak. Let me explain. I'll make it quick for you. I don't like Mamdani. I hate his guts. I don't like anything he stands for. But to me, on the 250th anniversary of this great nation, to me and my people, my religious faith, it's Germany, 1937, 1939. I'm a Jew. So I can speak on the 250th birthday, and I will continue to speak. This is exactly the time to open one's mouth and tell that guy off and anybody else.
Now, Stan, you're incredibly incorrect. You're incredibly incorrect. My family was also murdered in the Holocaust, and I take great offense and exception to your very ignorant and incorrect statement. I don't mean to be impolite to you, but to compare the United States and this president to anything even remotely resembling the Nazi era is not only is it insulting, but it shows a tremendous lack of erudition and education on your part. And emotions are probably involved, because it doesn't sound like you have a functional problem. I'm sorry, Stan, but that is an offensive thing to say. My family was murdered by the SS unit, the same SS unit that Graham Plattner, the Democrat, wears as a tattoo on his chest. This president has been an incredible friend to the Jewish people, an incredible friend to the state of Israel. And he's also, by the way, if you want to compare him, let's leave the Jews and Holocaust out of it. If you want to try to compare Donald Trump to fascism, it's also an incredibly ignorant and nonsensical comment. There has never been a more accountable president in our history than Donald Trump. Not because he wants to be. I'm not saying he wants to be humble and be accountable. I'm not saying that. But he is. He is the most accountable president because nobody gives him a quarter to anything he wants to do. He is challenged legally. He is challenged in the media for everything he says and does. This is the greatest accountability we've ever had in a president. I think sometimes it goes too far, but I'll take it. I'm okay with that. But I'm certainly not okay with an ignorant statement like, well, this is fascism. This is like 1937. The souls of my murdered ancestors will not let you do that. Chris, in Long Island, where I live as well, what do you got to say tonight?
Hey, Jake. First of all, there's a growing big number of us on the WABC website that are totally calling for you to get way more hours. We love you.
I can't do any more hours than I'm doing this weekend, Chris. I'm like doing.
I know.
It's like there's only so many hours in the day.
I know, but you don't understand. We're all huge fans of yours. Every time I go on the site, it's like, we need more Jake. We need more Jake. And when we found out that you were filling in tonight, everybody was like, tune in tonight. But anyhow, the reason I called was I love what's going on. I just want everyone to calm down. To me, if you want to make a sports analogy, what the socialists are doing, and the communists, I should say, they are ruining the other locker room that we're playing against.
Right.
I have friends. I'm going to tell you something. I'm 63 years old. I have a bunch of friends, all liberals, most of them. I went to college with them. Hate Donald Trump. Hate him. Will never vote for the guy. They didn't really like Kamala, but they voted for it because they didn't like Trump, okay? To a person, they're like Bill Maher, too, by the way. To a person, guess what they say? If Marco Rubio runs against AOC, they're going to either stay home or they're going to vote for Rubio. So what I'm saying is keep bringing it on. Keep destroying all these people. Keep saying to what's-his-face, Jeffries, you're next. I mean,
yeah, Chris, I appreciate, I'm going to tell you two things. First of all, I do appreciate that sentiment. And that was something that I immediately said on the programs after because I was here that morning after those Tuesday primary results. I was there the morning before, too. And I said the same thing. This could be this. Look, these are districts here in New York that were won by these socialists that are never going to go Republican anyway, at least not in this election, right? So it's not like they gained any seats, the Democratic Party, but the Republicans may gain in some of these swing districts in, let's say, Wisconsin or Pennsylvania, when the Republican running in a swing district says, look, you may not love everything about the Republican Party, but how can you vote for a party that has people like that in New York in it and in Colorado? Understand who's on their team. So that was one of my immediate thoughts as well, Chris. There's just two things, though, that we have to remember. The thing is, anything can happen in elections. And if they put up some kind of socialist communist like this for president in 2028, there's a chance that they could win. And I would like them not to have a chance. You know what I'm saying? I'd like to have another nominee. The second thing I'll say about this is I've had the same experience that you had with the whole Marco Rubio thing, and I'll make a nuanced comments about him. The first thing I want to say about Marco Rubio and putting him in a conversation for 2028 is do him a favor and don't have too many conversations about it. The last thing you want to be in any presidential election, in any climate in America, not even when it's less divisive as it is now, the last thing you want to be is an early front runner in a presidential election. They always lose, unless they're the incumbent president. That doesn't count. They always lose, or someone like Trump, who was basically like an incumbent last time too. You don't want to be a front runner any earlier than 7 months before Election Day, and even then, I think that's a stretch. And Rubio's being very smart about that. He's not even talking about running. I think the last time he even talked about it, he said, I'll support Vance. I mean, he's very smart about this. But the other thing is, while so many people are saying this, hey, Rubio is a Republican I could get behind, or maybe I just won't vote for the other guy. Just wait, because the smear machine on Marco Rubio is probably gearing up right now behind the scenes at all the Democrat political consulting firms and the smear operation. So we'll see if they still say that after that. But Chris, your points are very well taken. Very, very well taken. Dom in Minnesota. Love to get a call from the middle of the country. Happy July 4th weekend.
Yes, sir, to you too. Jake, I don't know if you shop at Costco. They give out free samples of new products. And sometimes there are lines, especially if the box looks nice and shiny. Looks like America is about to get free samples of the DSA/communist nice and shiny bitter candy. I think the GOP should call the House to order in 2027 by playing the Milat Kiros air horn to call the House to order on the first day of their new majority session, 2027.
Yeah. Do you come from a former communist country or a communist country?
No, I come from India. It's a democratic country.
Well, you had a strong communist party there for a long time that was no darn good.
Well, we did. We still do.
Yeah.
They're still trying to cause mayhem there, but
right.
We got a strong leader.
Yes, and a good friend of the United States. And I remember the day he was elected. I think it was 2014, correct, when he was first elected, or 2015, how excited I was, especially because, to me, India and its relationship with the United States and some of our major allies came way too late to the party because of those communists. I just said something nice about the father of the Gandhi family, because he was humble enough to decide to actually learn the country again when he came back from South Africa before he became the leader of different movements there. He had the humility to spend years reintroducing himself to the country. Unfortunately, his children have danced way too much with communism, way too much with anti-Americanism, and they were not good leaders for India. They really weren't. And this guy Modi is much better. I know he hasn't been perfect, but the fact that he's been able to stay in power this long is very encouraging to me. Very encouraging. So, Dom, thanks for your comments, and thanks for being a great citizen of this country. Susan, I think it's Ossining up in Sing Sing. No, Corning. You're in Corning.
Yeah.
You're in Corning.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Susan.
Yeah. First, Jake, I just want to say I'm ditto to. I'm finding you extremely informative, and really enjoy your whole platform, the way you frame all these issues. And I listened to your Dred Scott program a couple of weeks ago. I was just floored. But what I wanted to say was, being someone who lived near Greenwood Cemetery in Brooklyn, which is where the Battle of Brooklyn took place, and then to hear Mamdani today behind George Washington's desk, how he led off with that, and how he would not, say anything about, Washington almost was like captured that day, and it was only because of the Marbleheads. I've learned about that whole thing about how he got away and he had to go down to Brooklyn Heights.
Yeah.
And then, it's how he said, they just went across the East River, but he forgot the providential episode that happened because the Brits, with their huge army, were right up on the East River, and a fog came out of nowhere because it was a clear day, and that's how they got across. It was just one of the many things, because God forbid he would say anything about God, because we would not be a country right now without the hand of God, and Donald Trump might not be with us either if it wasn't for the hand of God. The other thing that he said, he talked about American exceptionalism, which is also, all the great things. Yes, we are an exceptional country, but the main thing, the thing that makes us the only country in the world that gives our rights are endowed by our Creator. They're not by the government. They can't be given or taken away by the government. And I know a lot of these leftists, they don't want, that is our founding, premise. And I am really feeling it. I might seem a little emotional today.
All your comments are really spot on, Susan. And, something that people need to understand about the history of, let's focus it from the immigration point of view, because Mamdani's basic message was America's got potential, but only if immigrants like us, whether we're legal or not, can fix it, which is really insulting. It's contrary to what he really should be saying, which is, wow, I came from a family that really didn't like this country, decided to take advantage of the academic world like my dad did, and my mother taking advantage of Hollywood stuff, and here I am, the mayor. What a great country this is that's embraced me in such a way. Barack Obama should say the same thing. I believe that Barack Obama was born in the United States. I don't think he was really raised as completely as an American all the time, but I do believe he was born in the continent.
It's the Rita Cosby Show.
And I'm Jake Novak in for Rita Cosby on the eve of the July 4th, 250th anniversary of this country. And yes, this is the appropriate time to talk about what we love about America. There are other times to talk about what we don't love, what we need to fix, but this is a birthday celebration. This is a celebration. This is not the time to smear, especially not to tell lies about the United States and to say misconceptions. One of the questions I ask myself so often, sometimes when I'm just even watching TV or the mainstream news media or fielding a question from someone, not just from a caller, just from people, is, and I know this sounds arrogant, and I'll explain why it isn't. Very often the question I ask myself is, who do they think they're talking to? My family, much of my family was lined up and shot by the SS in Lithuania in June of 1941. The same SS division that is depicted in the tattoo worn by Graham Plattner, a Democrat socialist. The idea that someone can tell me, oh, Donald Trump's like Hitler and this is like Germany in 1937 is, not because I'm smarter or better, I'm not, but it's just the wrong audience. Dude, you're talking to the wrong guy. Pick someone else who doesn't know the situation as well as I do from a personal level. My whole life. I get this from the other side, too. That was a leftist caller a little while back. The fringe right does, too. You know how long I've heard some of these lies and smears about Israel, like, for example, the USS Liberty nonsense conspiracy theory? I grew up in Norfolk, Virginia, our biggest naval town. I've heard this story since I was 10 years old, 45 years and a half. You think you're surprising me with this? You think I haven't completely researched it extensively? Call someone else. Not me with that kind of stuff. Again, not because I'm better. Nothing different in my DNA. It's just the personal experience I have makes me a ludicrous audience for this nonsense. It's as simple as that. Now, speaking of audiences, our next caller is talking about a new entertainment production that I'm very interested in, so I can't wait to get his take on it. I think it's Gall in Pennsylvania. Is that right, with a G?
Hi, Jake.
Gail.
This is Gail.
Sorry about that.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Yes, I just saw the young George Washington, and I was looking forward to it, but it even exceeded my expectations.
Gail, I'm going to hold you over until in the next hour because I want to hear more about this. Gail in Pennsylvania is going to tell us about young George Washington, but we got to take a break. And Gail, please stay on the line. We'll be right back.
The Rita Cosby Show
on the Red Apple Podcast Network.